On this channel, we staunchly defend prevention. Today, in just over 10 minutes, you're going to learn how you can prevent the physiological decline of muscle mass. What is the best time to act with such a goal? And how intensely you should do it to not lose muscle. What type of training you should do. Is it enough to go for a walk or do you need something more? What is the most important dietary element? What other factors cause you to lose muscle at a forced pace? Stay until the end, because today we're talking about how to avoid the dreaded sarcopenia. And what if I told you that muscle is the organ of youth? Yes, you heard right. Far from being a purely mechanical tool that allows you to move from one place to another, we have discovered in recent years that muscle is a much more complex organ and goes beyond showing off on the beach in the summer. If you want your biological age to be much less than your chronological age, you need to have a healthy and strong muscle. Why? You'll understand now. The muscle is an endocrine organ, that is, it produces hormones. These hormones establish crosstalk with the rest of the organs, helping to preserve their health. Think about it. When the muscle helps the proper functioning of your heart,
your liver, your kidneys, your brain.
But for that, the muscle itself must be healthy, because a sick muscle also produces sick hormones, hormones that act negatively on the rest of the organs. These hormones produced by the muscle have been called myokines, or also more recently exerkins. Lactic acid is produced during muscle contraction that occurs while exercising. Not long ago, we believed that athletes were healthier simply because their cardiovascular system was stronger and more resistant to disease. But this is reductionist. The person who trains throughout their life has a lower risk of disease, recovers faster from it, and has a greater functional reserve. They also have optimized cellular function. Why? Because these substances, hormones that I previously mentioned to you that come from the muscle, only from the muscle, reduce the levels of chronic inflammation, facilitate the elimination of abnormal proteins that damage the cell, protect against deoxyribonucleic acid damage and oxidative stress, and stimulate your immune system to defend you from any external or internal attack, such as cancer. That's why we will never tire of saying it, the muscle is the organ of youth and also the organ of health. Now, how can we maintain a young muscle and avoid sarcopenia? To understand this, first we have to roughly understand what sarcopenia is. Sarcopenia comes from sarco, which means flesh, and penia, which means lack of, that is lack of flesh, lack of muscle. It is defined as a low amount of muscle mass associated with low muscle strength. It is caused by a reduction in the size of a type of fibers, which are type 2 fibers. But to the surprise of many, it is completely preventable if we do things right. Sarcopenia most commonly occurs due to aging, which can be considered a physiological cause. As we age, the muscle loses function and size. But we have discovered that this does not happen only due to the passage of time, but because as we age, we tend to use the muscle less and less. In other words, we don't stop moving because we age because we stop moving. And why is it important, you might think, to avoid or delay sarcopenia as much as possible? Sarcopenia increases morbidity and mortality in a nutshell. What does this mean? Morbid mortality is a combination of two words: morbidity, risk of getting sick, and mortality, risk of dying. Therefore, sarcopenia, a person diagnosed with sarcopenia, has a higher risk of getting sick, has a higher risk of hospitalization, and also has a higher risk of death in the last decades of life as opposed to a mass. Competent muscle mass is a powerful asset for your health that reduces the risk of getting sick in the first place. But also, think about it, if we have been unlucky for whatever reason to fall ill, it increases survival and reduces the risk of relapses. You can see the muscle as an ally that will be there helping you to make everything go as well as possible if you are unlucky enough to have a disease of this type. In this specific study, breast cancer patients who were diagnosed with sarcopenia, that 1 in 3 had higher mortality and died, mind you. More, and those who also had an excess of fat in addition to the little muscle had up to an 89% higher risk of death than patients without sarcopenia and with a normal percentage of fat. And if you want another reason, sarcopenia practically doubles healthcare spending too, which could be allocated to cancer research or to having more efficient and less saturated health systems. Sarcopenic people in the end are more fragile, visit the doctor more often, and consume more health resources, something that is clearly described in the scientific literature. It's not an opinion, it's not up for debate. And now, what do I have to do to prevent sarcopenia? Let's be clear, the treatment of sarcopenia and the best way to prevent it. It's strength training for the muscles. And I want to make this very clear, any other intervention will not be effective without training. Taking a lot of protein without training is useless. Taking vitamin D, magnesium, and many other supplements without training is useless. Having testosterone replacement therapy without training is of little use. Doing expensive anti-aging therapies without training is useless. However, all these things will indeed enhance the irreplaceable effect of training. This is the only non-negotiable point if we want to maintain our muscle mass into advanced stages of life. Muscle mass directly depends on muscle function. That is, the structure of the muscle reflects what that muscle is capable of doing. And Borja, what if I don't like strength training? Is going for a walk useful to avoid losing muscle? I like to walk in the afternoons. It's not useful. Is walking healthy? Yes, without a doubt. Walking is very healthy, but it's not enough. Is playing golf useful? No, it's not useful. Is playing golf healthy? Yes, it is, but it's not useful for preventing that drop in muscle mass. We need to specifically train our muscle mass, whether at home, in the gym, in the calisthenics park, or in the CrossFit box. There is no other way around, and this can be done in many different ways, and you don't even need to go to a gym. If you want a video where we explain how to start strength training from scratch, for those of you who haven't taken the step yet, then leave it in the comments. When do I start training? Well, in 2 words, as soon as possible. As soon as possible. The more opportunity you will have to build muscle mass, and therefore it will take you longer to reach that point of fragility, that point of low muscle mass that we call sarcopenia. In some way, the muscle you build when you're young is an investment that will benefit you when you're old. And if I haven't trained when I was young, can I start at 50, 60, 70 years old? Yes, of course, and you should do it. You can build muscle at any age with the right training. Also, don't forget that it's not just about the amount of muscle mass, because then the bodybuilder would be the healthiest person in the world, and they're not. It's about the quality of the muscle mass. We can have a lot of muscle, but it may not be functional, strong, or healthy. And regarding the diet, what should we prioritize? Nutritionally, the most important macronutrient to prevent muscle loss is protein, although it's not the only important one. Good sources of protein, like the one I show you in this video, will provide the necessary amino acids for muscle protein synthesis to take place. How much protein do I need to consume? Well, at least 1.5 grams per kilogram of weight per day. It's more important to increase protein in your later decades than in your youth years. Look at this last thing. Why? Because anabolic resistance increases as the years go by. This means that you need increasingly greater anabolic stimuli to create or maintain that muscle. What is the best time to take protein to slow down muscle decline and increase strength? Well, it seems that right after training, or at least in older people, it is more beneficial to take it after strength training compared to taking it 2 hours later, a little later after training. This is reflected in a study published in the Journal of Physiology. However, more protein isn't always better. If you consume very high amounts of protein, your appetite will be reduced, and this can lead you to consume fewer calories than you should. Remember that appetite naturally decreases in the last decades of life, so more protein can even be counterproductive. In the long run, this situation will prevent you from building muscle because you will create a caloric deficit. This is negative for building muscle. The muscle needs, in addition to protein, energy. Hormones. The role of hormones in maintaining lean mass is key and has been known for many decades. Both estrogens in women and testosterone in men play a role in preserving muscle mass. Other hormones, such as GH growth hormone or insulin, also preserve lean mass. Men maintain adequate testosterone levels at these stages. Women lose sex hormones, particularly estrogens, much earlier in life, leading to a higher prevalence of sarcopenia compared to men. However, the drop in hormone levels is much less pronounced if we train throughout our lives and if we maintain good levels of body fat. Your habits, therefore, are crucial in maintaining good levels of sex hormones, and things like a very low-fat or very low-calorie diet can and do affect your testosterone levels. Tobacco, alcohol, and more commonly chronic stress also do. But then, can I build muscle after menopause and andropause? Well, yes, you can do it. Although there are fewer sexual hormones, muscle is adaptable and dynamic. It will still grow due to other hormonal and non-hormonal stimuli despite the increased difficulty. The factors mentioned are the priority and you have to focus on them, but they are not the only ones. Here are other factors that go completely unnoticed and are key to maintaining a healthy and effective muscle mass. First, adequate rest. The time we need to recover from physical exercise increases as our sexual hormones decrease, so controlling the recovery factor at these ages is totally clear. In addition, as the years go by, we tend to sleep less. Micronutrients such as vitamin D or magnesium, whose deficiency is quite common, are important for the proper functioning of muscle tissue. I remind you that people with low vitamin D have less muscle strength, and also that magnesium is key for the correct contraction and relaxation of the muscle. Some molecules, like hydroxymethylbutyrate, which is a metabolite of leucine, that is a product of the metabolism of leucine, also help to not lose muscle, keep us very active, that is, not to be older adults who only train, although this is rare, but to be older adults who move a lot and also train. If you like to walk, walk. If you enjoy hiking, then hike. If you like biking, go biking, but move. And then also dedicate an hour a day or 30 minutes or 40 minutes to training. Why give this recommendation? Being sedentary makes you resistant to the positive effects of physical exercise. In other words, if you are active, let's put the cutoff point at more than 10,000 steps a day, which really is a bit random, your body takes much better advantage of the benefits of physical exercise. If you are sedentary, you benefit less from or are less responsive to the advantages of physical exercise. Lastly, have a goal in mind. The goal at these ages, in my view, should not be aesthetics, but functionality. That is a very commendable goal, as I see it, is to reach 85 years in perfect shape, to be able to go out with the grandchildren or to play or travel with the family and not be a burden. For me, this is a beautiful goal that is within the reach of many. Now you have more tools to slow down sarcopenia. Tell me what you thought of the video, and if you suggest me making another video related to this one. Thank you for your support, subscription, and for being there. See you soon, a big hug and keep empowering.